She thought nobody was watching her. The hallway between the kitchen and the dining room was completely empty. The waitress looked down at the bowl of chestnut soup meant for the old man in the cheap suit. With a wicked smile, she leaned over and spit right into the center of the food. She stirred it in, walked out, and placed it in front of him. She thought her secret was safe forever, but she forgot about the polished glass reflection on the kitchen doors. The old man saw everything, and he wasn't just a regular customer. He was the most feared food critic in the country. Within 48 hours, her disgusting act would ruin a celebrity chef, bring in the health department with heavy padlocks, and destroy her life completely. Before we dive into this incredible story, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an amazing story. And right now, leave a comment below telling us exactly where you are watching this video from. We love reading your comments from all over the world. Now let us begin. The restaurant was called L'Étoile Dorée, which means the golden spoon. It sat in the heart of the city's most expensive district. For 5 years, it had been the playground of the rich and famous. Politicians, movie stars, and tech billionaires dined there. You had to book a table 6 months in advance. The man behind this success was Chef Vincent. Chef Vincent was a perfectionist. He screamed at his cooks. He threw copper pans when a sauce was a second late. He was arrogant, but people tolerated his behavior. Why? Because his food was art. L'Étoile Dorée already held 2 Michelin stars. A Michelin star is the highest honor a restaurant can receive. 2 stars meant the restaurant was excellent, but Vincent wanted more. He wanted the 3rd star. The 3rd star meant culinary immortality. It meant you were the best in the world. Vincent called a staff meeting every single morning. He stood on a chair and looked down at his waiters and chefs. "We are on the verge of greatness," Vincent would say, his voice shaking with intense passion. "The Michelin inspectors are in town this month. They could come at any moment. They do not announce themselves. They look like ordinary people. Keep your eyes open. Perfection is the only option." The staff always nodded in fear. They knew Vincent would fire anyone who made a single mistake. Among the waitstaff was a woman named Rachel. Rachel had worked at the restaurant for 3 years. She was sharp, fast, and very good at her job. But Rachel had a major flaw. She had become incredibly cynical. She judged customers entirely by their appearance. If a man walked in wearing a Rolex watch and a custom Italian suit, Rachel was an angel. She smiled warmly. She anticipated his every need. She knew a man like that would leave a $300 tip. But if a customer looked average, Rachel changed completely. She became cold. She took their orders slowly. She believed that ordinary people did not deserve to breathe the air of L'Étoile Dorée. She called them looky-loos and cheapskates. Her attitude was a ticking time bomb. And on a rainy Tuesday night, that bomb was about to explode. It was a miserable, wet Tuesday evening. The restaurant was surprisingly quiet. A few wealthy regulars sat at their usual tables. Chef Vincent was in the kitchen, nervously checking the quality of the caviar. At 7:30 p.m., the front door opened. The host at the front desk looked up. A man stepped inside, shaking the rain from his umbrella. The man looked to be in his late 50s. He wore a plain, gray trench coat that was slightly damp. Underneath, he wore a brown suit that looked 20 years out of date. His hair was thinning. He wore thick, wire-rimmed glasses. He carried a small, worn leather briefcase. "Good evening," the man said. His voice was quiet and incredibly polite. "I have a reservation under the name Mr. Finch." The host checked the computer. "Ah, yes, Mr. Finch. A table for 1. Right this way." The host led Mr. Finch to table 4. Table 4 was a small table located near the kitchen doors. It was the worst table in the house. It was drafty and noisy, but the host assumed this man didn't matter. Rachel was assigned to table 4 that night. When she saw Mr. Finch sitting there, her face fell. She sighed loudly. She walked over to the kitchen counter where the other waiters were standing. "Look at table 4, Rachel whispered, rolling her eyes. "Who let him in? He looks like a high school history teacher who got lost on his way to a diner." Another waiter, Toby, looked over. "Be careful, Rachel. Chef Vincent said inspectors are out." Rachel laughed scornfully. An inspector? Please, look at his shoes. They are scuffed. He's probably a tourist who saved up for a year just to eat here. He's going to order the cheapest thing on the menu. Drink tap water, and leave a 5% tip. He's wasting my time. Toby shrugged. Just give him standard service, Rachel. It's not worth the risk. But Rachel didn't listen. She had already decided that Mr. Finch was a nobody, and she treated him exactly like one. Rachel waited 15 minutes before she even approached Mr. Finch's table. She walked over slowly, holding a notepad. She did not smile. She did not say welcome. "Are you ready to order?" she asked. Her tone was sharp and completely devoid of warmth. Mr. Finch looked up from his menu. He gave her a gentle smile. "Good evening. Yes, I think I am. To start, I would like the roasted chestnut soup. And for my main course, I will have the pan-seared duck breast." Rachel sniffed. He had chosen the two least expensive items on the dinner menu. "And to drink, sir? We have a wonderful vintage Bordeaux tonight," Rachel said, pushing the expensive wine list toward him. "Just tap water with lemon, please," Mr. Finch replied kindly. Rachel's jaw tightened. Tap water. No wine. No expensive cocktails. Her suspicion was confirmed. This man was a cheapskate. "Fine," Rachel snapped. She snatched the menu out of his hands and walked away without another word. Mr. Finch did not get angry. He simply reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small, black fountain pen and a tiny notebook. He placed them on the table. He quietly observed the dining room. He noticed the dust on the light fixtures. He noticed the way the waitstaff ignored certain tables while pampering others. He wrote a few neat lines in his book. 20 minutes passed. Mr. Finch's soup was sitting on the kitchen counter. It was getting cold. Rachel saw it, but she chose to ignore it. She was busy serving a table of 4 wealthy businessmen. They were ordering bottles of expensive scotch. They were laughing loudly. Rachel was laughing with them, acting like their best friend. She knew her tip from them would be massive. Finally, Chef Vincent noticed the soup sitting on the counter. "Whose soup is this?" Vincent yelled. "It's getting cold. Get out to the dining room now." Rachel ran over. "It's mine, chef. It's for table 4. Vincent glanced toward table 4. He saw Mr. Finch in his cheap suit. Vincent scoffed. "Oh, that guy. Whatever. Just get out of my kitchen." Even the great Chef Vincent was guilty of arrogance. He forgot his own rule. He assumed the man in the old suit didn't matter. Rachel picked up the bowl of soup. As she walked toward the dining room, Mr. Finch raised his hand slightly. He caught her eye. "Excuse me, miss," Mr. Finch said politely as she approached. "I've been waiting quite a while. Could I also get some extra bread when you have a moment?" Rachel felt a surge of pure anger. How dare this cheap man demand extra things? He was ruining her rhythm. He was taking her away from her high-paying tables. "I'll get to it when I can," Rachel said through gritted teeth. She turned around and walked back into the waiter's prep station. The prep station was a small hallway between the kitchen and the dining room. It was hidden from the customer's sight. It was empty at that exact moment. Rachel looked down at the bowl of roasted chestnut soup. It was lukewarm. She felt a wave of deep resentment. "You want extra service?" Rachel muttered to herself. "I'll give you something extra." She looked around to ensure the hallway was empty. Then, she did something monstrous. She leaned over the bowl. She gathered saliva in her mouth and spat directly into the center of the soup. She took a spoon from her apron pocket. She stirred the soup quickly. The spit disappeared into the thick, creamy brown liquid. It was invisible. Rachel smiled a wicked, satisfied smile. She felt a rush of power. She thought she had put this cheap man in his place. She picked up the bowl, walked out into the dining room, and placed it gently in front of Mr. Finch. "Here's your soup, sir. Enjoy," she said. Her voice was suddenly sweet, dripping with hidden malice. "Thank you very much," Mr. Finch said. He picked up a spoon. He dipped it into the soup. He brought it to his lips. Mr. Finch took a single sip of the soup. He paused. His eyes narrowed behind his glasses. He did not swallow immediately. He tasted the flavors carefully. He was a professional. He knew exactly what chestnut soup should taste like. He tasted the earthiness of the nuts. He tasted the rich cream. But he also tasted something else. Something foreign. Something salty and viscous. Mr. Finch had been a food critic for 25 years. He had eaten in thousands of restaurants all over the globe. He knew the dirty tricks of disgruntled kitchen staff. He knew what human saliva tasted like in food. He calmly swallowed the sip. He did not make a scene. He did not yell. He simply placed his spoon down on the linen napkin. He took out his small black notebook. He opened it to a fresh page. He began to write. He wrote down the exact time, 8:15 p.m. He wrote down the description of the waitress. Rachel, blonde hair, silver name tag. He wrote down the condition of the food. Rachel watched him from across the room. She saw him take one sip and stop. She saw him writing in his notebook. For a brief second, a cold shiver ran down her spine. A tiny voice in her head told her that she had made a terrible mistake, but she quickly brushed the feeling away. He's just an old weirdo, she told herself. He probably doesn't like the flavor. Good, let him starve. Mr. Finch waited patiently. 10 minutes later, Rachel walked past his table again. She noticed the bowl was completely full. Is everything okay with the soup, sir? She asked, her voice mocking. The flavor is quite unusual, Mr. Finch said calmly. I think I will skip the soup. May I have my main course, please? Of course, Rachel said. She picked up the full bowl of soup. She carried it back to the kitchen and dumped it directly into the trash can. She didn't tell Chef Vincent that the customer had rejected it. She didn't care. A few minutes later, the main course was ready. The pan-seared duck breast looked beautiful. It was cooked to a perfect medium rare. It was drizzled with a rich cherry reduction sauce. Rachel brought the plate out to table 4. She slammed it down slightly harder than necessary. Your duck, sir. Thank you, Rachel, Mr. Finch said. He used her name. Rachel froze for a second. She hadn't introduced herself. Then she remembered she was wearing a name tag. She ignored it and walked away. Mr. Finch cut a small piece of the duck. He ate it. The cooking technique was flawless. Chef Vincent was indeed a genius in the kitchen. The food itself deserved 3 Michelin stars. But a restaurant is more than just the food. It is an experience. It is about hospitality, cleanliness, and respect. Mr. Finch finished half of the duck. He was a fair man. He did not let the terrible soup ruin his evaluation of the chef's technical skills. But he knew that what happened in the prep station was an unforgivable crime. As he was finishing, another waiter named Toby walked past table 4. Toby was a good kid. He noticed that Mr. Finch's water glass was completely empty. He also noticed that Rachel was ignoring the man completely. Toby walked over to the table with a fresh pitcher of ice water. Good evening, sir, Toby said with a warm smile. May I refill your water for you? Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Finch said, studying Toby's face. Are you enjoying your evening with us? Toby asked politely. The duck is excellent, Mr. Finch replied. The kitchen is highly talented. I am very glad to hear that, sir. If you need anything else, my name is Toby. Just let me know. Mr. Finch nodded and smiled. He opened his notebook again. He wrote down Toby's name. He put a small plus sign next to it. Rachel saw Toby talking to Mr. Finch. She walked over to Toby and pulled him away by his arm. What are you doing? Rachel hissed. Don't waste your time on him. He's my table, and he's not going to tip you a dime. He seems nice, Rachel, Toby said defensively. He's just eating alone. He's a loser, Rachel said flatly. At 9 p.m., Mr. Finch wiped his mouth with his napkin. He caught Rachel's eye and gestured for the bill. Rachel walked over and dropped the leather check presenter on the table. She didn't say thank you. She didn't ask if he wanted dessert. Mr. Finch opened the presenter. The total bill was $85. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. He extracted a crisp $100 bill. He placed it inside the presenter. He added a $15 bill as well. It was exactly a $100 payment and a $20 tip. A standard, decent 20% tip. He closed the presenter and stood up. He picked up his old leather briefcase and his damp umbrella. Rachel snatched the check presenter as soon as he stood up. She opened it right in front of him. She counted the money. When she saw the $20 tip, she let out a loud, mocking sniff. $20. Rachel muttered under her breath, loud enough for Mr. Finch to hear. How generous. Mr. Finch stopped. He looked at Rachel through his wire-rimmed glasses. His eyes were not angry. They were filled with deep pity. Hospitality is a noble profession, young lady, Mr. Finch said softly. It is a shame you have not learned how to practice it. Rachel laughed out loud. I know how to practice it for people who matter. Mr. Finch nodded slowly. Everyone matters, he said quietly. He turned and walked out of the restaurant into the dark, rainy night. Rachel rolled her eyes and pocketed the $20. She thought the interaction was over. She thought she had won. She had no idea that she had just signed the death warrant for Latoile Doré. The next morning, the sun shone brightly. The rain had cleared. Chef Vincent walked into his restaurant at 8 a.m. He was in a great mood. He felt confident. He felt that the Michelin star was within his reach. He called his daily staff meeting. The waiters and cooks lined up in the main dining room. Rachel stood near the front, looking tired but proud of her big tips from the previous night. Listen up, everyone, Vincent said, clapping his hands together. The local food critics have been quiet this week. That means the Michelin inspectors are actively writing their reports. We must maintain absolute perfection. Every dish must be flawless. Every customer must be treated like royalty. Just as Vincent finished speaking, the phone at the front desk began to ring. The host ran over to answer it. After a few seconds, the host's face turned completely white. He looked toward Chef Vincent with wide, terrified eyes. Chef, the host stammered, his voice trembling. It's the Michelin Guide main office. They want to speak to you immediately. A loud murmur ran through the staff. Chef Vincent's face lit up with a massive smile. This is it, Vincent shouted happily. They are calling to confirm our third star. This is history. Vincent puffed out his chest. He walked proudly over to the front desk. He took the phone from the host's shaking hand. This is Chef Vincent, Vincent said proudly, his voice booming with confidence. The voice on the other end of the line was cold, professional, and completely emotionless. Chef Vincent, the voice said, this is Director Moreau from the Michelin Guide headquarters. I am calling to inform you of a grave decision regarding your establishment. Vincent's smile instantly vanished. The tone of the director's voice sent a sudden wave of ice through his veins. A decision, sir? Vincent whispered. Last night, our chief inspector, Mr. Finch, dined at your restaurant. Director Moreau said. Vincent's heart stopped. Mr. Finch? We didn't see anyone by that name. Wait, a man in an old gray suit. Yes, the director replied coldly. Mr. Finch is our most senior, most respected inspector. He has awarded stars to the greatest chefs in human history. But last night, he experienced something he has never experienced in his entire 25-year career. Chef Vincent's hand began to shake so violently that he almost dropped the phone. The entire staff watched him in absolute silence. They could see the raw terror on their boss's face. What happened, Director? Vincent gasped, his breath coming in short, panicked gasps. Was the food bad? Was the duck overcooked? The food was acceptable, Chef Vincent, Director Moreau said, but the service was a criminal act. Mr. Finch reported that his waitress, a woman named Rachel, treated him with extreme hostility due to his modest appearance. Vincent's eyes whipped around the room. They locked onto Rachel. Rachel froze. Her heart skipped a beat. But that is not all, the director continued, his voice dropping to a dark, angry whisper. Mr. Finch observed the waitress taking his soup into the hidden prep station. Through the reflection in the polished stainless steel doors, he saw her clearly spit into his food before serving it to him. Vincent let out a horrific gasp. It sounded like he had been stabbed in the chest. She did what? Vincent choked out. She contaminated his food with human saliva. Director Moreau said flatly. This is not just a violation of Michelin standards. This is a severe health hazard. It is an assault on a customer. Furthermore, Mr. Finch noted that when he rejected the soup, it was discarded without any inquiry from the kitchen staff. Your restaurant lacks basic oversight, hygiene, and human decency. Vincent felt the room spinning. He looked at Rachel. Rachel's face had lost all its color. She realized exactly who the man in the gray suit was. She realized what she had done. "Director, please." Vincent begged, tears springing to his eyes. "I didn't know. I was in the kitchen. It was just one bad employee. I will fire her right now. I will sue her. Please don't take our stars." "It is too late, Chef Vincent," Director Moreau said firmly. "The Michelin Guide stands for excellence in every aspect. We cannot associate our name with a restaurant that serves saliva to its guests. Effective immediately, L'Etoile Dorée is stripped of both its Michelin stars. We are removing you from the guide entirely. Furthermore, we have already notified the City Health Department. They are sending inspectors to your location this morning." "No, please. No," Vincent screamed into the phone. "Goodbye, Chef Vincent," the director said. The line went dead. Vincent slowly lowered the phone. He stood frozen for a full 10 seconds. The silence in the restaurant was deafening. You could hear the faint sound of traffic outside. Suddenly, Vincent turned. His face was bright red. The veins in his neck popped out like thick ropes. He let out a primal, animalistic scream of pure rage. He charged across the dining room like a madman. He grabbed a beautifully set table and flipped it over. Expensive crystal glasses shattered against the hard hardwood floor. Porcelain plates smashed into 1,000 pieces. The staff screamed and jumped back. Vincent ran straight toward Rachel. He stopped just inches from her face. His breath was hot and frantic. "You!" Vincent screamed, his voice breaking. "You miserable, arrogant little insect. What did you do to table for last night?" Rachel was trembling, so hard she could barely stand. She burst into tears. "Chef, I didn't know. He looked so cheap. He didn't order wine." "You spat in his soup." Vincent roared so loudly that the windows rattled. "You spat in the food of the chief Michelin inspector. They took our stars. They took everything. 5 years of my life. My reputation. My career. Destroyed because you are a miserable, judgmental thief." "I'm sorry, Chef. I'm so sorry," Rachel sobbed, covering her face. "Get out," Vincent screamed, spit flying from his mouth. "Get out before I throw you out the window. You are fired. I will make sure you never work in this industry again. I will call every restaurant owner in this country. You will be blacklisted forever." Rachel didn't even grab her coat. She grabbed her purse and ran out of the restaurant, crying hysterically. But the nightmare was not over for L'Etoile Dorée. An hour later, 2 official vehicles pulled up outside the restaurant. They were from the City Health Department. 3 inspectors in white coats walked inside. They carried clipboards and blacklight equipment. Because a high-profile official complaint had been filed by the Michelin Guide, the health inspectors did not do a standard check. They did a deep, forensic investigation. They walked into the kitchen. They tested the temperatures of the refrigerators. They checked the dates on the meat. In his panic and arrogance over the past few weeks, Chef Vincent had focused entirely on presentation, neglecting basic kitchen maintenance. The health inspectors found old chicken stored at the wrong temperature. They found a minor rodent infestation in the basement dry storage room. They found that the dishwashing machine was not reaching the required temperature to sterilize plates. And most importantly, they questioned the staff about Rachel. Toby, the young waiter who had been kind to Mr. Finch, stood up and told the truth. He told the inspectors about Rachel's constant habit of treating customers poorly based on their appearance. He told them that the restaurant management encouraged staff to prioritize wealthy customers over regular citizens. The lead health inspector shook his head in disgust. He walked out to the front entrance of L'Etoile Dorée. He pulled out a large, bright yellow poster. In big, bold black letters, the poster read, "Closed by order of the health department." The inspector taped the sign securely to the front glass door. He padlocked the main entrance. Chef Vincent stood on the sidewalk, watching his empire crumble. Reporters from local news channels were already arriving. Rumors spread like wildfire online. Within hours, the entire city knew the story. The headline on the evening news read, "Celebrity chef loses Michelin stars after waitress spits in food of top inspector." The restaurant never reopened. The scandal was too massive. No wealthy customer wanted to dine at a place associated with such a disgusting act. Chef Vincent's investors pulled their money out immediately. He filed for bankruptcy 3 weeks later. His name was ruined. He had to leave the city in shame, taking a low-paying job as a line cook in a remote casino just to pay his debts. Rachel's life was also destroyed. Her name and face were posted all over social media. She became an object of universal internet hatred. No restaurant, cafe, or bar would hire her. She couldn't even get a job folding clothes at a retail store. She eventually had to move back to her small hometown, living in her parents' basement, completely isolated and broken. Her arrogance had cost her everything. But what about Toby? 2 weeks after the restaurant shut down, Toby was sitting in his small apartment, wondering how he was going to pay his rent. His phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello," Toby said. "Hello, Toby. This is Mr. Finch," a calm, familiar voice said. Toby blinked. "Mr. Finch? From the restaurant?" "Yes," the old man said with a warm chuckle. "I wanted to call you personally. In my report to the Michelin Guide, I noted that while the restaurant was filled with arrogance and toxicity, there was one young man who possessed the true spirit of hospitality. You showed me kindness and respect when you thought I was nobody." "Thank you, sir," Toby said, his voice cracking with emotion. "I just believe everyone deserves to be treated well." "Exactly," Mr. Finch said, "and that is why I have a proposition for you. A very wealthy friend of mine is opening a brand new restaurant in the city center. It will be a place of true elegance, but with a philosophy of kindness to all. I have recommended you to be the general manager of this new establishment. The salary will be 3 times what you were making under Chef Vincent. Are you interested?" Toby's eyes filled with tears of joy. "Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you so much." 1 year later, the new restaurant was booming. It was a massive success. Toby ran the dining room with a warm, welcoming smile. Every customer, whether they wore a Rolex or a faded coat, was treated like royalty. And sitting at table 1, enjoying a beautiful meal, was Mr. Finch. He looked exactly the same, wearing his old wire-rimmed glasses and his simple suit. This story teaches us a powerful, timeless lesson about life and human nature. Never judge a person by their cover. Never treat someone poorly because you think they cannot offer you anything in return. The way you treat an ordinary person when you think no one is watching is the true reflection of your character. Arrogance and cruelty will always find a way to destroy themselves. But kindness, humility, and genuine respect for others will always open doors to greatness. Thank you so much for watching this story until the very end. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Give this video a big thumbs up, and don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. Let us know your thoughts on Rachel's actions in the comments below. Have a blessed day, and we will see you in the next incredible story.